What the hell is going on college campuses?
Those violent protests erupting overnight at UC Berkeley.
On the one hand, our political and intellectual leaders tell us everyone needs a liberal arts education to succeed in the world.
I want to spread that idea all across America so that 2 years of college becomes as free and universal in America as high school is today.
On the other hand, every day we hear crazy stories about college professors and the nutty ideas they are teaching our kids.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
What's behind this? Why are intellectual elites prone to such backward thinking? And why do they invariably seem to turn to socialism and other authoritarian forms of government? I'll tell you why. According to a survey from UCLA, liberals outnumber conservatives on college faculties 5-1. In New England, where many of the country's most prestigious universities reside, that ratio is an astonishing 28-1. A recent survey found that 18% of social science professors self-identify as Marxists. That's right, disciples of this guy. This shocking trend grows stronger year after year. That's about as balanced as Michael Moore on a teeter-totter. Lack of intellectual diversity on campus coincides with a growing intolerance for free speech. It's now common for college students to shout down speakers they disagree with and even physically assault people who say things that offend them. Those who can't do, teach, and those who can't defend their ideas stifle, censor, and cut off debate. The trigger warning culture protects students from ideas they may not like, everything from discussions of political differences to yoga classes, Cinco de Mayo celebrations, and other supposed acts of microaggression and cultural appropriation. Free speech zones have been created in an attempt to combat this problem, but their very existence is a sad irony in a setting that is supposed to be all about the free exchange of ideas. Think about this for just a second. College campuses have created this tiny little space where people are free to speak their mind. Outside of that zone, nobody knows what's going on anymore. Are we burning books? Are we reallocating ideas based on what some loudmouth asshole thinks? I think college campuses used to be an entire free speech zone where you could say anything and think anything and do anything. Not anymore. Speech is maybe the only thing socialists don't believe should be free. Where do students get these nutty ideas? From their nutty professors, of course.
You are a menace.
You don't have to look far to find teachers respected by their friends and colleagues saying things that are, well, totally freaking insane. One sociology teacher at Hunter College attacked the nuclear family as an instrument of white supremacy.
This, my friend, is a white devil's conspiracy.
A University of Texas professor has argued that cultural appropriation is the same thing as actual theft. Teachers attending an academic conference in Las Vegas were told to treat microaggressions like physical assault. And an assistant professor in Canada wrote an article explaining why it is that ski slopes are sexist.
And remember, I'm a professional.
The list goes on and on. While preaching tolerance on one hand, multiple professors have gloated about Republicans being hurt in natural disasters. They've publicly wished death upon the current president of the United States. You may remember Ward Churchill, who gained notoriety a few years back for suggesting that America deserved the terrorist attacks on September 11th, and that the victims of the Twin Towers, they had it coming. They were little Eichmanns, after all, Nazis that deserved to die.
Insofar as you lend your proficiency knowingly to a process that results in the mass immiseration and miserable death of third world brown-skinned children for profit maximization. Yeah, essentially you're the moral equivalent of Eichmann.
Happily, this nut job was eventually fired. Some people refer to this craziness as cultural Marxism. an attempt by the political left to tear down all traditions, family values, social mores, religious ideals, and anything else that has stood as a foundation for Western civilization. Maybe, but you know what's worse than cultural Marxism? Actual Marxism. Here's a professor at the University of Wisconsin who teaches a course on how capitalism is an evil system that results in too much income inequality. He gets paid $170,000 a year to teach it. Perhaps a better value would be to pay him not to teach at all. Then there's this man, a teacher at Montclair University. He published a video defending Joseph Stalin.
I've yet to find one crime that Stalin committed. I know, they all say he killed 20 and 30 and 40 million people. It's bullshit.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Following the death of Fidel Castro, professors from half a dozen universities praised the Cuban dictator whose regime killed over 70,000 people. Academic scribblers have a long history of supporting totalitarian forms of government. This matters because bad ideas on classroom chalkboards lead to bad policies and dangerous political experiments involving the lives of real people.
I will not stand for any member of my staff utilizing the facilities of this university for his or her own personal experiments.
Historically, much of the world has been organized based on cues from academia. As economist F.A. Hayek points out, socialism in practice has never been an authentically worker-driven movement, but always originated from the theories of intellectuals. Safe spaces and trigger warnings are silly, but socialist intellectuals kill. Most of the prominent members of the Khmer Rouge, the brutal force that brought Cambodia to its knees under socialism, were educated at the most elite Paris universities. Some of them earned doctorates in economics and law. Others became professors themselves before applying their theories to the Cambodian people. Today in Venezuela, President Nicolas Maduro gets his advice from Alfredo Serrano Mencia, a Marxist economics professor from Spain. That advice has ruined an entire country, plunging its people into poverty and starvation. John Maynard Keynes once wrote that practical men who believe themselves to be quite exempt from any intellectual influence are usually the slaves of some defunct economist. What he meant was that ideas that begin in the university end up in society at large. So this stuff matters. College professors don't rule the world. They don't even rule the faculty lounge. But the people in charge listen to them, and that's dangerous. Why is it so common for professors and intellectuals to defend systems of government that have historically resulted in the deaths of millions? It really comes down to the marriage of three vices: arrogance, envy, and fear. Authoritarian philosophies fit hand in glove with the fatal conceit that smart people can redesign complex social systems into ones that are better, more efficient, and fairer than the ones we have now. Intellectuals have been told from a young age that they're smarter than other people. Their big brains are what earn them a living, and much of their identity is wrapped up in being the smartest guy in the room. It's not very hard to spot these guys. They're usually the biggest asshole in the room. Hayek put it this way. No, not that Hayek. Friedrich Hayek argued that intelligent people tend to overvalue intelligence, thus diminishing the power of social institutions to bring order out of chaos. It's easy to see how putting so much faith in your own intelligence can lead down some pretty dangerous alleyways. To these people, the idea of having to passively accept a system outside of their control, the unplanned market economy, is almost inconceivable. It requires a humility that's alien to their entire worldview. Professors, even the most successful ones, won't generally achieve the heights of wealth and luxury attained by entrepreneurs or professional entertainers. To someone who is prized for their intelligence, this arrangement seems unfair. Why shouldn't the smartest people, the ones who do the deepest thinking and try to solve the world's most daunting problems, not be compensated for their efforts? A world where an actor or a football player can earn many more times than a Nobel Prize winner must be broken in some way.
Okay, you're on, Mr. Popular.
As economist Ludwig von Mises said, it is certain that many intellectuals envy the higher income of prosperous businessmen and that these feelings drive them towards socialism. They believe that the authorities of a socialist commonwealth would pay them higher salaries than those that they could earn under capitalism. Finally, many intellectuals fear that in a truly free market, they would struggle not only to become wealthy, but to survive at all. On this point, they're onto something. In a market, the only way to acquire wealth is to provide a service others are willing to pay for. The NFL quarterback earns millions because lots of people want to watch him play. Entrepreneurs like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos get rich by selling products almost everyone wants or needs. In this world, the services of the deep thinker are only going to be valued by a select few, especially if they yield no tangible results. Shockingly, there's not a huge demand for work studying the personalities of rocks or what happens when rats wear pants. A big part of what drives intellectuals to support socialism is the fear that without major government support, they would not be able to maintain their lifestyles. All of this is really a symptom of an environment where ideas have no consequences. The economist Thomas Sowell once said that it's hard to imagine a more stupid or dangerous way of making decisions than by putting those decisions in the hands of those who pay no price for being wrong. He also observed that intelligence is not the same as wisdom. Intellectuals who are paid to think deep thoughts and to come up with clever ideas are rarely held accountable when those ideas are put into practice. In this sense, they are unlike entrepreneurs who embark on new ventures at great personal and financial risk. Competition, the mechanism that separates ideas that work from those that don't, is almost wholly absent from the loftiest realms of academia. The tenure system was intended to protect professors with unconventional views from persecution, but today it basically means that they can do or say pretty much whatever they want without repercussion. It's a guaranteed, permanent stream of income that isn't tied to performance or even basic human decency. To paraphrase Lord Acton, power tends to corrupt, but tenure for life corrupts absolutely. The real problem is not that intellectuals have bad ideas. Everybody has bad ideas at one time or another. The problem is that modern academia lacks a reliable system to weed out the crazies, and that too many students feel forced into an environment where up is down and madness is called social justice. There are few things more noble than the pursuit of knowledge. Great thinkers have lit the fires that have led humanity out of the darkness of fear and superstition all the way to the modern world with all of its wonders. We need great thinkers, but we should also be wary of institutions that insulate them from any competition or accountability. Fortunately, these institutions are starting to erode. Universities no longer hold a monopoly on information, and the internet has made it easier than ever to sidestep academia entirely. Entrepreneurs are learning that the liberal arts are not the only path to success, and alternative methods of education are emerging all the time. College professors once served a useful market function by training people to be successful in the real world. It's a little harder to make that case when universities are churning out degrees in Afro-lesbian feminism or Lady Gaga's studies.
That's the beauty of college these days, Tommy. You can major in Game Boy if you know how to bullshit.
Hayek believed that there was an established chain through which knowledge was transmitted, from professors to journalists to politicians, and finally to the people. And it was true then. But when he made that observation, there was no internet, no way to break the intellectual chain of command. The Marxist rhetoric professors preached from their protected lecterns used to be a one-way conversation. But today, students can Google it. They can fact-check and question and explore alternative ideas for themselves. Instantly, the old intellectual food chain has been turned on its head. When you think about it, this is the first time in history when anybody, regardless of wealth or social station, can get direct access to knowledge and ideas that were once jealously guarded by elites. The disintermediation of information may well turn out to be the most important invention in modern history. Could it be that liberty and competition and the beautiful chaos of free choice might sneak their way into the safest of safe spaces, the university faculty lounge? Marxist professors are freaking out because they understand markets better than they let on. They're losing their power, their station in the world, their importance, and they're fighting to hang on to it. But it's a losing battle. We're entering a world where we won't need nutty professors to tell us or our children what to think.